Hello and welcome to the Harun Rabbani Podcast. And today we are talking about high blood pressure. So, if you look at the statistics, it's absolutely mind blowing statistics. In the USA, so we'll start off with, we're not going to cover the whole world. In the USA, approximately 116 million adults suffer from hypertension, which is hypertension is an, let's call it, an elevated form of high blood pressure. That's hypertension. It's really bad. In the
Yeah.
UK, that's about 47%, by the way. And in the UK, it's about 14 million people. About 25% of adults suffer from hypertension. And it has serious consequences. So, in this episode, we are going to be talking, well, myself, Harun Rabbani, and Dr. Ashish, we are going to be discussing high blood pressure. Ashish, first of all, let's hit the ground running in terms of, well, first of all, a bit about your background for those of you who've never watched this live stream before. Can you share your background for our listeners, viewers, etc.?
Yes, absolutely. Good evening, everybody. This is Dr. Ashish along with Mr. Harun Rabbani. So, we are talking about my background. So, I specialize in natural fertility, and this is to help women conceive naturally, healthier, better, faster, whether they're trying to conceive naturally or with IVF. I work in that space, and natural medicine is what I speak about in all sense. And hypertension is also linked with pregnancy, and hypertension can cause fertility issues. It can cause early miscarriage, or what we call preeclampsia during pregnancy can be due to hypertension. So we are going to talk about how and what to do to manage your high blood pressure naturally.
So, thank you. And so, for those of you who don't know a bit about me, I work with reversing people with reversing type 2 diabetes with people, not reversing the people, reversing people with type 2
We are
diabetes.
reversing the people too.
Yeah, that is true. That is very much true. So here's the thing. So I've just finished my retreat this week gone, and the results were absolutely mind blowing. And the truth is, people do not put the time, energy, and effort they need generally to actually transform their health. Some of the consequences of hypertension, very important to understand. High blood pressure is it raises your risk of heart attack and stroke significantly. If you got type 2 diabetes and you've got high blood pressure, then the chances of stroke is and heart attack is exponential. In fact, my when I was still married, my father-in-law at the time, he had type 2 diabetes and he was a smoker. He only smoked 3 or 4 cigarettes a day. But what a combination. When
Yeah.
he passed away, the coroner didn't have to do any autopsy because they said, well, he's got type 2 diabetes, he's already had strokes before, and he smokes. So and this is not about grimness, but this is about talking about reality. And also heart failure, you might experience chest pains, you might have kidney damage, vision problems, sexual dysfunction, male and female. Certainly for men, for those of you who are not aware, you need to pay attention. It also causes all sorts of other crises like blurry vision, dizziness, and so on. So, Ashish, what are the main causes driving high blood pressure and hypertension?
So I'm gonna mainly speak about how we make sense of hypertension in a natural, holistic way. Of course, we have the medical reasons, high cholesterol. Although it is not all kind of cholesterol is not bad. We need cholesterol for our brain functioning. We need cholesterol for other functions of our body. We need cholesterol for hormones, for example, for fertility. It is the bad cholesterol that we don't want. Is the bad fat that we don't want, and the ratio between the low density lipids and the high density lipids is what needs to be in the correct ratio. So it is about what is naturally going on, what is driving your blood pressure. So if you generally, what I have seen, and also from Ayurvedic medicine point of view, it is if you have anxiety, or if you are an anxious person or you are a vata person and you think a lot, you are a worrying kind of person, then you are driving your blood pressure even more crazier. So high blood pressure means the blood pressure, the blood is going around your body, the whole system, your brain, everywhere is just passing quickly, faster and faster and faster. That's what's going on. And with that, it is going to cause damage of all the organs. When the pressure is too high, the body then cannot cope with that. And it is due to one of the reasons, main reason is if anxiety is mixed with blood pressure, unless there are other reasons. For example, damaged kidneys can cause high blood pressure. Heart, if there are any structural issues with the heart, that can cause high blood pressure as well. But most of the people have high blood pressure and anxiety mixed together, causing the blood pressure to rise even higher. So that is where we need to look at, naturally, how can we cope with that? And of course, diet will make a difference. Your thoughts, your mind will make a difference, which is linked with, if you have anxious kind of personality, then it is going to drive your blood pressure even much worse than what it would be.
Absolutely. And so you mentioned about Vata people, of course, and for those of you who've not heard this before, but there are three specific body constitutions, which are also known as doshas, which are Vata and
Vata, Pitta, Kapha, three
Kapha.
types.
Okay. Three very specific. And in the previous episode, we actually talked about how a Vata person actually tends to be more of a thinker, more of a worrier. It doesn't mean that other people don't suffer, but they tend to bring it on themselves even more so. So let's go for the easy mechanistic bits about food. So we already said that Vata people have a tendency to worry more. What kind of foods are causing the damage? We'll talk about what you can do about it. Of course, what kind of foods can cause damage to or worsen blood pressure?
Yeah. So according to the constitution, so Vata is the one. It's kind of the wind behind the Vata literally means wind. So it is what will drive your pressure much higher. So if you then have a Pitta constitution, which is to do with the heat, passionate, hot people. So the blood pressure in them is generally more on. They are more warm-blooded as well, so they have a little bit more passion and pressure both. So Vata and Pitta together, you can imagine it's like a flammable combination. Yeah. And then food wise, any food which is aggressive, hot foods,
Mm.
generally, lots of spices. If you eat a lot of spices, and just imagine if you already are a Pitta person and it's hot right now, and you're eating a lot of spicy food, a lot of spicy curries, then your blood pressure will naturally rise. However, if your body does not have the mechanism to cope with it, if your body has a lot of inflammation in it, you are obese or you have diabetes or any other conditions, then your body cannot cope with that mechanism, the high pressure that is there. If your body is healthier, this natural rise will be adjusted, by your thyroid gland, thermoregulation happens, and your body will cool down. So it is the foods that we call the pitta foods which are really causing a lot of heat, are the ones that you should be avoiding if you have high blood pressure or if you have tendency to have higher blood pressure.
Wow. Okay, that's absolutely mind blowing. Learning that. So certain pitta foods, and of course, I think most people are aware that having cutting down your salt intake is important because salt is certainly directly linked to high blood pressure, and also a lot of people miss out. They don't realize how many processed foods have got excess salt in it. Excess, not just
Yeah.
normalized version. So any kind of processed foods, tin foods, not only do they have sugar, they also have excess amount of salt. So so if
And salt increases heat.
oh, there you go. Salt
Yeah.
increases heat. You see, even I'm learning something. And of course I will. I'm not a doctor in Ayurvedic medicine. So salt will increase heat. So all right, let's talk about just normal foods. What kind of foods can people take? And we'll come on to the stress and stuff like that in a bit. What kind of foods can people take which will have a more of a calming, a cooling effect on them, particularly if they're vata or pitta?
Yeah. Well, first is, as I'm going to keep repeating this every time, is to assess your body constitution, your body and mind constitution, whether you're vata, pitta, kapha, what kind of person you are. And then you need to know those foods according to your body and mind constitution. If you are eating foods according to your body constitution, then they are not going to be as harmful for you. If you are a cold person, you eat warm food, your body can cope with that and can adjust. But if you are a hot person already and you're eating a lot of hot foods, then your body cannot cope and it will show the effects of it. Yeah. Generally speaking, we are talking about a lot of foods which have got high sugar and high salt intake. Even the sugar itself, a lot of sugar can cause, by the osmosis in our cells, can cause the pressure to rise. Yeah. So that can also be an effect. And plus the salt, as we know. However, the salt needs to be at the right amount, because low salt can also cause, is not good for our body. We need to be in a certain limit of the salts that we are taking. Yeah. But with processed foods, reducing processed foods overall, because they cause more inflammation. And inflammation is then what is causing our arteries and veins to narrow down, or causing or making these plaques, which we used to think are cholesterol plaques, but they are not. They're actually inflammation plaques. And that is where then the blood, while it's flowing down, the arteries and veins are getting narrower. And that is what can cause stroke or heart attack as well, with the
Well,
high blood pressure.
and, there's a lot of confusion around the cholesterol being bad, and this is a propaganda, of course, set by some manufacturing industry, where they're trying to sell margarine as an example. There's a long story behind that.
Oh,
Absolute BS, but basically they're saying cholesterol's bad for you, and yet your brain is primarily made out of cholesterol, so we need
yeah,
cholesterol in the body.
facts.
So there's good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. Can you share some information about that so people have an idea, or some at least base level understanding of cholesterol?
What I have seen clinically is sometimes people are not necessarily eating a lot of fat, but when you look at their blood reports, the balance between the good cholesterol and the bad cholesterol, or good lipids and the bad lipids, is actually not right. And that comes from your gut.
Hmm.
So your gut has to be balanced, which again, then we go back to the foods, eating according to your body mind constitution, and eating the fresh organic foods, eating the proper amount of veggies and the fruits, which is then going to give you a gut which is not inflamed, where there is a lot of inflammation is not happening. So, where was I? So, with the gut, I've just lost my thought. Um, so when your gut is healthier, that is when you get the balance correct, because I've seen it in, even in young, I used to have patient years ago, uh, really young man, but the balance between the bad lipids and the good lipids was really, it's actually, there was a bit of hereditary factor as well, but he wasn't really eating any fats to cause that damage. So then you have to look at what kind of processed foods people are eating, whether they are passing stools or not. Are they constipated? Are they having any bloating? Are they having any indigestion? All these little factors, which we think are little, actually add up when we look from holistic point of view. And then we find that balance is, the balance of the lipids is not good. And then we will have to work at the gut to create that balance. It's not going to come from anywhere from outside. We cannot create that balance from outside. It can only come from when your gut starts to behave properly.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of this is interesting. We've made a career out of helping people do the very basic things in life. Atherosclerosis, which is the
Pasta
harder.
stools.
Yeah, exactly. Atherosclerosis, which is the hardening of the arteries, for want of a better term, is something quite severe, and it will obviously affect your blood pressure.
Yeah.
And so there was a study done across the world, across different communities, to find who have got the healthiest hearts in the world. And why is heart and blood pressure related? Well, blood pressure, the way it's measured is this. First of all, they measure the pressure caused by the pulsing, the beating of your heart. Number one. Number two, so that's the first reading. The second reading, systolic, first reading, diastolic. The second reading is the pressure between the pulses. So the heart is absolutely critical in this.
Yeah.
And so they looked across the world and they observed that the people of the southern Bolivia Tsimene tribe, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, if I'm not, forgive me, the people of Tsimene tribe exponentially way ahead of everybody. So how did they have such great heart condition? Well, in fact, by the way, even people into the 70s and 80s years of age, that is, in that community had better heart condition than people in the US, adults who are in the mid 20s, which is shocking. Well, not shocking, actually. Sorry, Americans. Anyway, so how did they do it? First of all, they ate 76% of their food was plant-based, which includes fruits and nuts and seeds.
Yeah.
And then only 24% was fish and meats. So because they lived in the Amazon, right? They were hunter-gatherers. And so, but that's the first part of the equation. The second part, and we keep emphasizing it, and it, and I think we will keep on emphasizing it for the next few lifetimes, which is this, that these people, on average, the women walk 17 or 16,000 steps every single day.
Wow.
16,000 steps. The men, they only do 1,000 more, 17,000 steps. Either 17 and 18 or 16 and 17.
Yeah.
But the point is, high number of that was their exercise. They were constantly moving. And if you look at the kind of work that you're doing, and I'm working with clients who are people who are either running their own business or running are leader in a team, or people who are very senior in an organization. And I tell you what, the biggest wake up call is this: your work, your business, as important and as good as it may be, doesn't define your life, and but yet it can define your death, because of the practice, the malpractice you have towards your own body. So, and it's not your fault. It's just choices you've made. And so you got to change that. So, all right. So, in terms of foods, obviously, well, not just foods, with smoking, you got to cut that down or stop, because
Yeah.
that really affects your heart
Yeah.
and your blood pressure and everything else. So, that kills. That does not help your blood pressure. The other one is limiting, reducing, or eradicating alcohol from your diet, because damage to your liver and any other organ is going to have problems, implications as well. So, in terms of foods, are there any specific foods that people can be eating that you think, okay, you need to eat this and this, which may help ease your blood pressure? It won't reduce it if you don't deal with the next thing we're going to talk about, but anything that you can think of.
Uh, Actually, I want to say something about the alcohol. So alcohol is heating by nature. Yeah. In degrees, of course, the harder the liquor, the more heating it is. So it's actually adding fire to fire. So if you are a warm person and you're drinking a lot of alcohol and hard drinks, as we call them, like whiskeys or such alike, that's when you are adding fire to fire, and you will find that your blood pressure is higher and it is not helping to reduce it. So beer is probably the lightest, because the alcohol content is much lower in that. So that is another reason from a holistic point of view why alcohol is bad, because you are warming your body up constantly if you drink too much, and you have to cut down your alcohol content for that reason. Although red wine particularly, as we know, is linked with good heart, that again, if you are a pitta person, then you have to drink moderately, because you are adding too much heat to your body. Even though it is good for your heart, but you then need to do cooling remedies, you need to take cooling foods. So talking about the specific cooling foods, all foods which has got high water content, for example, lots of salads, all kinds of salads, and vegetables which has got high water content will help. Juicing will help. spinach and lots of fibrous vegetable juicing will help to reduce your heat basically in your body. And yeah, I don't want to go into specific foods, each and every food, but if you look at the foods which are in the pitta column for the food chart that I send to people, or the diet sheet according to Ayurveda, so the pitta ones which you shouldn't be eating, or the ones you should be eating, is to cool down. So those are the ones people should be taking.
So when you talk about juicing, of course, we mean turning it into a smoothie. Don't get rid of the
Absolutely.
fiber,
Yeah.
because that's highly
Yeah.
important to yourself.
No, I'm
So
not talking about the other juice. Yeah.
yeah. So stuff like cucumber is very cooling, of course. What about so something that I tried years ago where there was too much pitta energy is coriander seeds. I put it in water, soaked it in water, and I drank that water. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, coriander is cooling. So fresh coriander leaves are cooling. Parsley leaves, for example, even though they are considered to be spicier, but they are still much cooler. Coriander is very cooling. So you can have that. Cucumber is very cooling. Then courgettes are very cooling. They have got a lot of water content. Celery seeds and celery itself, they both, and they help to with the kidney function as well. So celery particularly makes you go to pass urine a lot. So you need to pass a lot of urine in order to get that heat out of your system. So well, actually three ways. One is to sweat out. So if you are sweating, then you are releasing the heat out of your body. Number two is passing urine, you're releasing the heat. And number three is passing stools. So passing stools also takes out the bile, which is again very heating. So that helps to cool down.
And I'm just fascinated by how bile is heating. And in Chinese medicine, of course, where the bile is formed, gallbladder, is related to anger and resentment. Isn't that fascinating? Absolutely mind
Yeah.
blowing how they're all
So if you
interconnected.
want to reduce somebody's anger, yeah, and you want to reduce somebody's heat, like we do, we give them purgation. Lots of stools, lots of stools.
Okay, so get them to practice letting go, basically, but
Exactly.
using number two method. So, okay, so it's interesting that you mentioned courgettes, cucumber, celery. All of those things are growing in my allotment in massive amounts. So
Yes.
I'll be a very cool, calm character by the end of the year. So
You
so
can label them anti-hypertension foods.
anti-hypertension foods. There you go. So I might might create a new PDF for that. So if you, and one thing I want to say is, if you are a beer drinker, alcoholic, if you are alcoholic, that's an issue, a different issue. But if you're a heavy drinker, I mean, say for example, red wine, you don't need more than a glass of red wine.
Yeah.
Okay, particularly in Britain, I don't know what it is that when it comes to alcohol, since childhood, I used to observe, it's mainly English people, alcohol was like, it was like they're drinking like it's going out of fashion just because of the prohibitions that they had from childhood.
Yeah.
Just calm down, cool it down. And if you're seeing a big tire around you, or even a tire around your waist, then that's a very strong indication you have insulin resistance, which is a precursor to type 2 diabetes and numerous other conditions. So if you develop a tire around your waist, that's already a good indication to stop drinking, or certainly severely restrict your drinking to once a week, perhaps. So let's move on to stress. Um, I've just finished my retreat, like I mentioned earlier on, literally on Saturday, a week-long retreat, and I was measuring the heart rates of my clients was, well, let me say, put it this way. When you go to the gym, I go to the gym. I don't do the treadmill so much. I do that on the road, the running. But when I do run on the treadmill, my heart rate goes up. The machine measures it, and then as I'm cooling down, after about 2 minutes, my heart rate drops down to to a more acceptable level. My client's resting heart rate, that means after he's woken up, a few minutes after he's woken up, was higher than my post-workout heart rate, which was shocking to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely shocking. And whilst he was away abroad doing his work, his diabetes went through the roof. This isn't all about diabetes, but I just want to mention his diabetes went all through the roof. He was eating all the good foods, doing 10,000 steps a day. He was doing basically all the right things. And the question I asked him is, well, what's different? Because his job's the same. The reality is he was working on a deadline. And number one reason everything shifted was his blood pressure, his stress, sorry, went through the roof. And it was interesting because it was his blood sugar went really high, his heart rate was really high. But when he came to the retreat, the biggest thing we did was work on managing stress. And as a result, by the end of the week, so 5 days, it dropped down from an average, normal average of 125, 130 to 85, which is a massive, massive result. That's
Yeah.
within a week. So it's all possible. It's none of this is, like, oh my God, it can't be done. Yeah, it can be done. It's just been done. So let's talk about stress. How does stress impact people from as far as you're concerned?
Wow. So yeah, stress and hypertension is, like this. So they are kind of following each other. So it becomes a vicious cycle for people. Stress is also related to how your mind is, how your mindset is. If you're a pessimistic person, you're going to think more, you're going to worry more. And if you're going to worry more, it's mainly about negative kind of worry. And that feeds on to making you more anxious. So if you are always worrying about things going wrong, then of course it's causing this anxiety, which adds on to the blood pressure. So it's a big um, it's a big shift that one needs, where you need to learn how to do the mindset shift, and also how to manage your day-to-day stress. Because remember, your body and mind gets used to the reactions. Yeah. So every time when somebody has stress, like this gets tight, the shoulders get tight, or the lower back gets tight, that takes a long while sometimes to release that. Yeah. What your client has, for example, experienced within a week. Yeah. Now the test would be for him to go back to his life, and then perhaps in those scenarios where he would be very stressed out, to see how his body reacts. Because we have muscle memory, and we also have the memory in the usual memory, and we go back to older habits. Body likes to keep pushing you back unless you're very, very aware and you change those patterns. So it is a new ways of learning. You need to learn how to manage your stress, your mind, your thoughts, and mindfulness comes into that, where you need to learn how to do mindfulness practice every single day. Not every single day sitting away from your desk, but every single moment. In that moment, you have to learn how to be mindful. Yeah, because if you are angry and you lost it in that moment, there's no good going and sitting for meditation in the evening, because you needed the mindfulness then. So it is being mindful in that moment, whatever you're doing. And that is why it's a big learning overall, how people need to manage their stress.
And so, a lot of people might say, oh, I've heard of mindfulness and meditation, etc., and yoga.
Yeah.
Here's the problem: information doesn't lead to transformation. Information never leads to transformation. Just because you heard this here is absolutely, it's not going to work for you. And the truth is this, that those people who stress chronically, meaning all the time, who worry chronically, have made it a habit of worrying chronically.
Yeah.
It's become part of their characteristic trait, their personality trait. It becomes their personality. And as my friend Dr. Joe Dispenza says, if you want to change your reality, you've got to change your personal. If you want to change your personal reality, you've got to change your personality. That's what he said. And so if the habits that you've got, when I say habit, it might mean first thing in the morning, you're reading the news or you're on social media. That's not a great way to start the day.
Yep.
So if that's your habit, another habit is, for example, you starve yourself till the latter part of the day and then you stuff yourself. That's not a very good habit. That'll affect your moods.
Yeah.
Habit might be, so it becomes ritual. These things are ritualized, by the way. And stuff like how you react to people. For example, someone says something that doesn't match your expectation, you get angry, because here's your fantasy of what you expected, and here's the reality. This is your anger gap, not your hanger gap, your anger gap. And so it's way more easier than you think, people, because we think of mindfulness and we think, I don't know, some of you might be thinking, I don't know, Star Wars or something. It's more simple than that. I used to have clients like 20 years ago when I was helping people in this particular field. I'll tell them, the next time you're angry, don't try to change. You don't need an anger management course. Don't try to change. When you're angry, notice that you're angry. That's just the starting point.
Yeah.
Here's what happens. When they're angry, they notice how stupid they look, how stupid their reaction is. And nobody wants to look stupid. So, by the way, I've done it myself, so I know it works. Really? I'm reacting to that. I'm out of control. Is
Yeah.
this really on? And, at some point you will change unless you're a psychopath. So, so one of the things you'll find that if you're someone who's getting anxious, have you people noticed, if you're watching, if you noticed how you're breathing, you'll notice that people who are anxious don't breathe properly.
Yeah.
They're like breathing very shallow. So do you want to lead us into what might be able to help them, Ashish?
Oh, absolutely. That's my favorite topic, breath work. So, absolutely, we can change our state by how we are breathing, and vice versa. We can breathe better to change our state. And that is why I was talking about being mindful in that moment. Yes, everything is calm and hunky dory when you're sitting for meditation, but when you are being, somebody's honking at you and you're in the middle of this traffic jam, that's when you need mindfulness, actually, really, and you need breath work right there and then. So it is about how you breathe better, and by slowing your breath and by making your breath going deeper into your belly, into your up to belly button, or even lower into your belly button, into your lower into your belly, is how we are going to calm our nervous system down. So breathing in to the count of 5, breathing out to the count of 7. That's the simplest way to calm yourself down if you don't know any other pranayama, any other yogic breathing. But breathing is important. If you are having this ragey moment, or frustrated moment in the office, and you go to the washroom and realize that, okay, I'm having this moment, I need to take a minute out, and go and sit on the toilet and breathe in and out deeper to really calm yourself down. And you can do that in the middle of the meetings as well. Hopefully, most of the meetings you can just come out for even 30 seconds. If you can brace yourself and do the breath work. So I think everybody should learn breathing. Yeah.
What's one of the things I find fascinating is the energy centers we call chakras.
Yeah.
By the way, if you're watching, it's not called chakras, it's called chakras. It comes from Indian subcontinent. Please pronounce it properly. It's like annoying here people chakra. Even Joe Dispenza, chakra. Seriously, next time I see him, I'll have a go at him. It's called chakras. Okay, chakra means wheel. So anyway, we have energy centers. We've got many energy centers, 7 major ones that most people are aware of, starting off from the root all the way to the crown. So each energy center has a direct impact on the reality you're creating. For example, on your root chakra, it is totally related to your ability to manifest, your connection to earth, so your groundedness. It also affects your sense of smell. There's a whole bunch of stuff to be aware of. Now, when your chakras are aligned, so they're coherent, then all your body is healthy, your mind is healthy, everything is going hunky dory. However, most people who come to me to receive help, I have a particular device called the BioWell device, and I use that to measure many things, including their psychological makeup. As an example, last week, so my clients, his chakras were everywhere. And I was looking at it. I thought, okay, I always take 4 or 5 readings at any one time. We do it 2 readings straight away because at any moment in time, it's a snapshot of your chakra system. It
Yeah.
fluctuates.
Yeah.
So we look at patterns. Then we do one straight after the exercise, get them to do exercise, something that will get them out of breath, which emulates physical stress, which emulates mental stress, and then how quickly you recover. Here's what my clients, I should have recorded it, by the way. The look on his face when he just said, oh my, then expletives. Because the fifth reading we did was I got him to do some pranayama. Just what you've just suggested, actually breathing. And from having his chakras everywhere, all it went aligned. All his organs, and also we're measuring that at the same time, all of them performed at optimal levels, not at a peak level, not at a low level. Everything shifted simply from the practice of breathing. And the breath work is only for about a couple of minutes. That was not even that. That's how important breathing is. People don't have any clue how. I will do a show on that. We'll talk more about that a bit more
Breath
detail.
work. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so breath work obviously brings you to meditation. One of the things about meditation, just so you understand, most people think meditation means an empty head. No, it doesn't happen. It's about creating space between your thoughts. All those thoughts are just algorithms, programs programmed into you from outside forces, parents, society, tradition, religion, whatever it was. It's external. It's not your voice. But most people, most of the time, are driven by creating reality through their own thoughts. They're not your thoughts. So is it a wonder? Is it surprising that teenagers rebel because from being carefree and happy about life, all of a sudden they're being told to conform? And when you're being told to conform, of course, it starts fighting against your natural system. So, as an example, we talk about natural medicine here. This is what this podcast is about. It's all about natural medicine. Massive part of natural medicine is to treat your brain in a natural way. So, I've had so many clients who've had major relationship issues, uh, addiction issues, money issues, career issues, and so on. And they come to me when they're really desperate. And a lot of them have been on beta blockers or some kind of antidepressants and they come off it.
Yeah.
So, my client that I mentioned last week, he was told by his doctor he must take insulin for the rest of his life. He must take metformin for the rest of his
Yeah.
life. Can you imagine the damage it's doing to him? I didn't tell him to. He decided, no, I'm going to give this a shot, this natural business. And he did, I was like, oh, I'm not sure I want you to come off it straight away so quickly. Give it
Yeah.
time. No, he said no. And we were able to see what a big difference he was able to make straight away to his body. It was like, smacks you between the eyes. So meditation, how about yoga? Where does yoga fit into this? Because it could be yoga, tai chi, etc., but obviously we're more of yoga fans. How would you say yoga fits into this, Ashish?
Absolutely. So we talked about yogic breath or pranayama or breathing exercises, and then certain postures and asanas to move your body to create more lung space as well, which helps you to breathe better, and that helps to reduce the pressure that your body is just, and also if your body is uptight, if your muscles are tighter, that also increases the blood pressure. So you need to be able to make those movements and start gentler. There's no competition. Your competition is only with yourself. So start wherever you are. Bend whatever you can bend, however little you can start with. If you are not flexible person, you have never done yoga in your life. But this is something which I think the biggest thing is there is no pill for yoga. There is no pill for breath work. There is no pill for mindfulness. It has to be done and it has to be given time and space. And that is what people are not willing to put in every day. Even doing, I normally recommend breath work, for example, and yoga altogether, 10 minutes. Everybody should have 10 minutes of time for their health and well-being. You don't need massive uh, once you start to do it, once your body and your mind is enjoying it, you can do more if you wish. But my requirement is always start from 5 minutes. If you have 5 minutes, start from 5 minutes. So do some yoga, learn certain stretches, go to a practitioner, learn the ones which you can do. Don't damage yourself just learning everything on the internet. Only because it's available on the internet doesn't mean it's good for you. So go to a practitioner. I used to do one-on-one sessions. Now I only do one-on-one sessions with my fertility clients where I teach them certain postures that they can do. But absolutely, yoga and breathing work goes hand in hand. And also, the way I teach yoga is that you move your body with your breath. So you take a breath in, you move your arms up, and then you breathe out and you move your arms down. So every movement is with your breath awareness.
One of the practices we did every single day, and we do at our retreat, I already do it myself, is yoga practice.
Yeah,
And again, depends on your mindset, because you're 100% correct. So the Western mindset, and this could be in India, people have Western mindset, right? Is
yeah,
it's a competition. Let's see who can do the splits first, which is the biggest load of nonsense. So it's about yoga to me is a way to diagnose any particular conditions of my body. So, for example, if I know the back of my hamstrings, my glute area to the back of my hamstrings are tightening up, it tells me my nervous system is overactive. It tells me that my kidney meridian is overactive. It tells me that if I continue this way, I might develop sciatica, or I might develop other conditions, including, by the way, high blood pressure. So it tells me, calm down. So
yeah,
it's an indication. So even looking at the way somebody stands, if you're a very good yoga therapist,
yeah,
or yoga teacher, you'll be able to, I'm talking about really good therapists, of course, because there's plenty of yoga teachers, but a really good one will be able to say, okay, this is going on in your life. Even if you've got issues with your knee joints and you can't bend down, it just gives so much away for that person. So His Excellency Ambassador Ravinder Singh Thakur, this is in LinkedIn, says vast knowledge, Harun ji. Thank you, Ji, which is correct. Breathing is a form of yoga. If done correctly, it regulates the body into balance. 1,000%, but no such thing. So 100% correct. So thank you for that. So one other thing I want to share is a good friend of mine, Dr. I say good, I mean, it's difficult to get hold of him. Dr. David Hamilton, PhD.
yeah,
He is a pharmacologist turned teacher, author. He's written many books, of which one of the books is Why Kindness is Good for You. So, and all his books are based on scientific studies, of course. That's why you can't get hold of him, even if you got his home address and everything. He doesn't pick up the phone or anything like that. So, what he talks about is how, in the act of kindness, say, for example, the kindness and compassion meditation that the Buddhists perhaps sometimes use, they've actually measured the levels of oxytocin in the blood, it goes up. The oxytocin is a hormone which men and women have. Women particularly release it when they're nursing a child, meaning breastfeeding. That goes up. That invokes trust between people. So it's not something you can sense physically. You can't smell it per se. We probably can, we're just not aware of it.
yeah,
And what it also does is has the effect of being a vasodilator, meaning your veins, your arteries end up becoming dilated. What does that mean? It's significant, this, my friends. The act of kindness, the thought of compassion, just the thought of compassion, like during a meditation, it actually causes your veins, your arteries, I can't even say the word, arteries.
arteries.
That's the one. I'm thinking of the Ukrainian war. Your veins and your arteries to actually dilate, swell up.
Yep,
What does that mean? It means that blood flows more freely, which means you reduce your blood pressure. So
yep,
let's have a look at the psychological element, what this signifies. This means that if you're somebody who's mean and angry, you might not be, but your behavior will be. If your behavior, your thoughts, your thinking is stinking, your feelings towards somebody is resentment, jealousy, anger, hatred, loathing, all of that kind of stuff. if you're like that, or your words, your thinking, your feeling, your intentions, your words, and your actions, if any of those are in that direction, you are causing high blood pressure. And one of the ways to do it, and all of this, by the way, is to do with blame. You're blaming somebody. You know what the saying is: you blame, point one finger, how many fingers point back at you? So you're blaming somebody and you're causing tension in yourself. It is like drinking poison. This is why people say it's like drinking poison, hoping somebody else will die.
Yeah.
This is getting angry. So you're putting your blood pressure through the roof
Yeah.
and you're increasing it. Now go the other way. If you suffer, I'm not saying everybody with high blood pressure are horrible, nasty, angry people, but if it's a serious condition that you might want to have a look at. So whether you have that or not, the act of kindness, the act of paying it forward, the act of just compassion, compassion in your head, hoping other people will feel better, hoping, like say, praying for other people to feel good. When somebody wins the lottery, don't think, oh my God, look at them. They don't deserve it. I do. Well, that's going in the negative direction. How about bless them? Thank them. No, you don't have to personally thank them. Go in your and say, yeah, if you're religious, say, God bless you.
Yeah.
I hope you do well out of it. Just that act, just those behaviors changes your blood pressure. But if we look at society now, I am on social media a lot. Why? Because that's where I get my clients, without even advertising. And the level of animosity that is out there in the world is incredible. Are you surprised why nearly 50% of all adults, that's 47% of all adults in the USA, are hypertensive or have hypertension, and 25% in the UK. So meditation,
Yeah.
breathing, breath work, pranayama, breathing exercises, yoga. And is there anything else physical that they can do or psychological they can do, from your perspective, Ashish?
Yeah, they can do ice buckets to
Okay.
cool themselves down, which is another way to cool your blood pressure as well. So literally calming your whole body down by cooling it down. Maybe not a good idea so much in the winter, but in the summer or summerish weather, you can do a bit more of. It helps to calm your body. But yeah, all the things that we have mentioned, the food, learning how you manage your stress, doing breath work, yoga breathing, pranayam, and yoga itself, all of that together is going to help you and give you much better results in the long term, rather than just taking the medicine and just trying to reduce your cholesterol. And by the way, please don't reduce too much cholesterol, because your brain needs cholesterol to function better. So low cholesterol is linked with Alzheimer's and dementia. We know that. So we don't want any of those. But it is about a good lifestyle overall. And also, you mentioned, for people who have anger issues and they will have high blood pressure. Anger is not always expressed. Okay, there are a lot of people who have anger which is hidden in them, and they on top they think, no, 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 it's fine because I'm suppressing it. But suppression is even worse, because it is causing internal damage to your organs and to your mind as well, because you're completely trying to diminish that urge that your body is producing. So you need healthier form of release, whether it's anger, whether it's frustration. And there is, without any doubt, unless you have some kind of structural or some kind of real damage in your body, which for which you need medication, most of the blood pressure, hypertension issues can be resolved with all these things that we have mentioned.
Absolutely. And then I want to finish off with two supplements I would strongly recommend. One of them, we've mentioned it many times before. Oh, by the way, before we do that, I just want to say, cold showers, like you mentioned, some people absolutely don't like it. But during the summer months, like it is now, I can't understand why it's not even a must for people. However, you don't want to be doing cold showers at nighttime, because that will get your dopamine, your adrenaline going high. So first thing in the morning when you shower, Go
Yeah.
for a, you can start off with warm, which is what I do, warm shower, and then it's so soothing. It helps with reducing inflammation and pain, by the way.
Yeah.
So in the past, when I've had back damage from, I don't know, too much workout or exercise or whatever, I'd have warm shower, and then I would have a cold shower directly aimed at my back, and it was a great pain relief. So two supplements that you might want to consider. One, you need, for so many chemical processes in your body, over 300 minimum that I can think of. It's called magnesium. Magnesium is wonderful in helping you to control your blood pressure. The other one, and there's scientific papers, plenty on both of them, by the way. If you can, chromium. Take chromium supplements if you can. Look it up. Don't believe a word I say or even what Ashish says, because we're not your private consultants unless you are actually our private clients. Don't trust us. Do your own research. Look
Yeah.
into chromium. There's plenty of scientific papers out there. Chromium and its effects on high blood pressure, and magnesium and high blood pressure. There's other things you could do, but those two supplements I would uh, really consider to use if you want to help reduce your blood pressure. So,
Yeah.
any final comments before we wrap up?
Yeah, so we do have herbs as well, and
Yeah.
herbs work very gently. And one of the ways to reduce blood pressure is actually to calm your head. So any herb that will relax your mind, relax your gut, will relaxes your blood pressure as well. So we do have herbs. Please don't take herbs over the counter. That's not how herbal medicine works. If you want to take it, especially for anything, chronic hypertension or even acute one, then go to a practitioner like Harun, like myself. Go and consult whoever you trust. Go and consult and start from there, because everybody's body is different. But there are so many herbs that can help you with your blood pressure issues.
Brilliant. Well, my friends, thank you for watching. Or my friend, because probably only one person watching. Maybe there's a million people watching. Anyway, however many you are. What I would say is finish off is with this. First of all, Dr. Ashish Paul, thank you once again. And if you want to find out about your constitution, there will be a link in the replay on all the three social medias: LinkedIn, Spotify, and four social medias, actually YouTube and Facebook. So there will be a link for that. Now, my suggestion is this: look, most of the diseases, the only true disease we cause, what we go through, everybody goes through, is aging. Aging, we all get old, but even that can be, how can I say, reversed or slowed down, if
Yeah.
nothing else. And most of the illnesses that people actually go through, I'm not talking about accidents, car accident, but most of it is preventable. And stuff like hypertension, type 2 diabetes, fertility or infertility, all of these issues
Yeah.
can be supported on a massive scale. And there's so many others which we won't talk about because we'll be banned, because that's just how social media is now, right? They ban you with anything that will, I can say, compromise the profits of some organizations. So most of the stuff that you need is naturally available for you
Yeah.
to heal fully, properly, and permanently. But in order to do that, you've got to make you, your body, your mind, your soul, your spirit, your number one priority. Because without your body, nothing else matters. Without your mind, nothing else matters. And if you don't have a soul, you're a zombie. So thank you all very much for watching, and we will see you next week at the slightly later time, usual time actually, 7 p.m. UK time, and whatever it is in your part of the world. Ashish, thank you once again. Bye for now.
Thank you, Harun. Bye bye.